Saquon Barkley and the Philadelphia Eagles get the last laugh as they embarrass the New York Giants 28-3 at MetLife Stadium. Takeaways and rants coming your way next on the Locked On Giants podcast.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of the Locked On Giants podcast is brought to you by Hillsdale College. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost and it's easy to get started. All right. Hello, New York Giant fans, and welcome to another edition of the Locked On Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast family, your team every day. I'm your host, Patricia Traina, credential member of the New York Giants media for Locked On, as well as for New York Giants on SI, which is where you can find my written work. And as always, welcome on into my Blue Crew community members, my everydayers, my newcomers, and everybody in between, and especially those of you who are here for a therapy session because we need it. We need it. The New York Giants losing to the Philadelphia Eagles 28-3 at home in what was by far one of the worst losses I have seen of this Giant team in recent years. And I've seen a lot, folks. So we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about the same old song. Yay, the same old song. What I've noticed in these losses this season. Then we're going to talk about the effort or the lack thereof in some cases, and just why, something's got to give here. And then I have a few ideas on maybe how they can fix this. And look, let's face it, what they're doing so far ain't working. And what's that saying? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over. So I'll throw out a few suggestions to you, and we'll see if maybe some of them make sense. So let's get into it. 28-3, same old song. All right, what do I mean by that? Go back and look, if you have the stomach, at every single game the Giants have played this season. And they all start out pretty much the same on offense, with a slant pass to the X receiver. They don't run enough. All right. You figure this week, with a compromised offensive line, left tackle Andrew Thomas done for the season, Joshua Ezeudu, who, the kid tries. He really does, but just not a left tackle in this league. And what do the Giants do? They decide they want to be pass happy without their best offensive lineman in there. Now, I get it. Look, you can't run the ball every single time, but they had to try some different things. They tried putting some help over there. The Eagles countered or had an answer. They tried, chipping with a running back. The Eagles had an answer. Nothing worked. And Ezeudu, from what I could tell, gave up, I think, a couple of sacks. I don't know how many pressures, but I did see a couple of sacks. And look, you just, why not run the ball? I know some of you are going to say, well, because the book is out on Daniel Jones and everybody knows that if you load up the box, you can and force him to beat you with his arm, you're going to beat him. Okay, look, here's my feeling on that. Just try running the ball, because what do you have to lose, right? This Eagles defense came in. Supposedly it was a bad defense, and yet again, the Giants make a bad defense look like they're all world. All right, run your game. Stop being afraid, and you've got Tyrone Tracy, a kid who's looked pretty good. Devin Singletary was back, I think, on a pitch count. Run your game. Don't sit there and say, oh my God, we can't run the ball because they're going to load up the box and dare us to beat them through the air. That's ridiculous. And speaking of through the air, how many times do we have to see the Giants go to Wan'Dale Robinson on a third down on a pass play? Wan'Dale Robinson, unless you're putting that ball right in the numbers, he ain't going to come up with that ball. All right. He's got short arms. A lot of times that ball is way out of his catch radius and the pass doesn't get completed. How many times until you learn that? I just don't understand it. It's like this team does the same thing over and over and over with the same results. And it's just getting frustrating and it's getting tiresome. It really is. All right, let's talk about the quarterback, Daniel Jones. All right. Daniel Jones was pulled for the very first time in a game in which they were losing, and he was healthy. All right. And Brian Dable telling the media afterwards that he was looking to get a spark. So Jones was pulled with about 11 minutes or so left in the fourth quarter. Dable was looking for a spark. Everything Dable said actually about the quarterback situation tells me that he's coming to an end with Daniel Jones, because look, Daniel Jones just doesn't elevate the team around him. And there are times you need your quarterback to play above the X's and O's, and he doesn't do that. He just doesn't do that. And it's getting frustrating. Now, Dable did say that Jones is going to be the starter next week, but at some point, I still remain convinced Jones is not going to be he's not going to finish this season as the starting quarterback. I mean, this is ridiculous. Again, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So they're just not getting the different results. All right, let's look at this little stat. All right, I pointed this stat out on my X account. I'm going to mention it here. Saquon Barkley, the former Giants running back, had 187 all-purpose yards between his runs and his passing yardage. The Giants had 119 yards. All right, Saquon by himself outgained the entire Giants offense. That's just not acceptable. All right. What also isn't acceptable, the Giants' total of 119 yards, their lowest since week 1, 1999. I mean, come on. Come on. The team's got talent. They've got talented receivers. The offensive line, even, Andrew Thomas is missing, but the offensive line, not horrible. Something's got to give here. You can't keep doing this week after week after week. And hey, by the way, Brian Dable's calling the plays, right? He was supposed to be, the answer to fix all this stuff. And the Giants are averaging fewer points this year than they were last year with better personnel, supposedly. All right. So this is just not acceptable. It's the same old song with this Giants team. It's frustrating. It's tiresome. And folks, I apologize if I'm yelling. I'm just really, really frustrated with this team, because every week you go in and you hope that things are going to be better. You hope that they're going to turn things around. You get teased by games against Cleveland and Seattle, and you say, okay, maybe they've turned the corner, and they haven't. They just haven't. And I haven't even gotten to defense and special teams yet, which I'll get to in a little bit. But this offense is broken. And I don't know if, the answer is necessarily on the roster right now. I don't think it is. But you can't tell me that it makes sense to continue on with Daniel Jones. And look, Daniel Jones wasn't solely responsible for the offensive woes this week, but he didn't help. And how many more times you can stick with this guy, especially knowing that you've got that injury guarantee looming and hanging over your head? All right. At this point, you've got to be smart about it. You can't worry about, oh, we're going to hurt his feelings. You're going to move on from the guy anyway after this year, in all likelihood. So, you know what? You want to win? You want to do what's best for the team? Okay, Daniel's not going to like it. I get it. Nobody likes to be benched. But you know what? If you want to win, you take one for the team and you shut your mouth and you just move forward. Eli Manning did it. Daniel Jones could do it. All right. Coming up next, I'm going to talk about the effort that we saw on this team, or in more specific terms, maybe the lack of effort. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Halloween lets us have fun with what scares us. But what about those fears that don't involve zombies and ghosts? Because sometimes the scariest thing is not facing our fears in the first place and holding ourselves back. That's where therapy can help. And if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Fill out a questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And if you find your assigned therapist isn't a match, switch at any time for no additional charge. Don't skip therapy day. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Hey, Giant fans, time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including literature, mathematics, fine arts, history, economics, and so much more. There's no better way to expand your knowledge and challenge your mind than to open it to learning something new from Hillsdale College's vast catalog of online courses. Enroll today for free at hillsdale.edu/lockedon, and there's no cost and it's easy to get started. Again, that URL is hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. All right, Giant fans, welcome back to the Locked On Giants podcast. I'm your host, Patricia Traina. And guys, what a frustrating team. What an absolute frustrating game. You at least expect them to be competitive. You expect them to give to hold their own and to get absolutely blown out of the water by the Eagles or any team for that matter. It's just so disheartening. And yeah, I'm angry. In case you haven't noticed, I am angry. Normally it's like, okay, win or lose, I get a paycheck either way. But folks, I feel for you. I saw your tweets. I saw your letters to me. I saw, what you were saying about this team, and I feel your pain. I really do, because I've said this a million times. It is so much easier to cover a winning team than it is a losing team. All right, speaking of losing, let's talk about the effort or the lack thereof. All right, there were a couple things that I saw that just absolutely alarmed me that I have to talk about. The first one, Deontay Banks. And on that, I think it was an 11-yard run by Jalen Hurts on the last touchdown drive by the Eagles. Deontay Banks, who, by the way, was getting toasted by A.J. Brown all game long, just so happened to give up on the play. All right. So he thought he saw Hurts coming. He told reporters in the locker room afterwards, "Oh, I thought he was going to slide," and he pulled up. Oh my gosh! You pull up seriously? I mean, you're assuming that the guy's going to slide. I mean, the effort. Where was that effort? And not surprisingly, folks, when he went to the sideline, the coaches gave him an earful. And this is not the first time Banks has given or not given a solid effort until the whistle, which, by the way, is what was missing here, right? We saw it against CD Lamb. We saw it again this week, all right? Look, I'm not an advocate for benching players. Mistakes get made. But when you see this week after week, when it happens multiple times, maybe you need to send a message to that player. Hey, this will not be tolerated. All right. You either give an effort till the whistle blows or you sit your fanny down on the bench because this will not be tolerated. And I'm curious to see how the Giants handle it this week. The assistant coaches spoke last Friday, so they're not due to speak again until not this Friday coming up, but the following Friday. By then, I guess things will be forgotten. But I'm curious to see what happens because Deontay Banks, look, you just can't do that. You play to the whistle. And if you're not playing to the whistle, then sit down and let somebody else play. All right. Speaking of efforts, um, look, I feel for the defense. The defense, even though they gave up 28 points, got no help from the offense. And you just keep on wondering at what point are these guys just going to say, you know what? Why are we breaking our backs when we're not getting any help? I talked about this on a previous show, but as I was watching, the game wind down and the Giants were pulling starters and whatnot, I don't know, folks. To me, it just seemed like they threw up their hands and had given up. Like, I don't know. To me, the effort just, I don't want to say wasn't there, but I can't say I would blame the defense. because it's the same old song. Just going back to where, what I talked about in the first segment. And I don't know, man. It was like an exhibition game almost, but without the hunger that you normally see from these bottom of the roster types who are looking to impress to make the 53-man roster. The effort was just lacking. It really was. And especially as the game wore on, it was almost like, okay, you know what? We give up. Let's just end the game and move on. That's my impression at any rate. You might disagree, but I just thought that it was really lacking. The other thing that really, irked me, Tamon Fox. All right. Tamon Fox was called up from the practice squad. Great. Okay. What was he doing celebrating a sack in garbage time with the game basically over? After, by the way, he allowed Jalen Hurts to convert on a third and long. After he committed a penalty, roughing the kicker, which extended the Eagles' drive and basically kept the Giants' offense off the field at the very end of the game. You're celebrating a sack when you're down 28-3 and you've just committed two major blunders in the game. Come on, man. What are you thinking? And I raised this point on Twitter or X, and some people are like, "Oh, what's the big deal? He's having fun. He's playing." No, I'm sorry. I disagree. You don't showboat when you're down like that. That's just ridiculous. It's a bad look and it's a lack of discipline. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I don't think the coaches liked it. But we'll see what happens. It is what it is, unfortunately. So the Giants offense, defense, and even special teams. I mentioned special teams before. Let me talk a little bit about that. When was the last time special teams flipped the field in the Giants' favor? Can anybody remember? When was the last time the Giants' special teams played a game where you didn't have a hiccup? This week, of course, being the muff punt by Emir Smith-Marset, which thank goodness rolled out of bounds and the Giants were able to keep it. Okay? It just seems like every week there was something with special teams. This week it was that, the muff punt. There was also a long return on a punt return or a kickoff return maybe. The Giants special teams just ain't special. Hate to use that cliche, but they're not. The whole team just terrible from top to bottom. Now, they weren't the biggest culprit in the loss. The offense takes the cake there. The defense is not actually in the four categories. The offense and coaching would be 1 and 2 as far as I'm concerned, followed by the defense and special teams. But this is a bad football team right now. And they better figure it out because this season is slipping away. And look, at this rate, they'll be irrelevant by the end of the month. And then we can just turn our attention to the draft in the future. But that being said, I wrote down some things that I would like to see changed. And I'm going to talk about those coming up right after this. Hey, Giant fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the very same page where you place your bets. And right now, you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Locked On Giants podcast. And just a reminder for those of you who aren't aware, we have a Locked On Giants postcast, which is basically Jay Berman, who hosts the postcast, gets online right after the game, gives you instant reactions, takeaways, basically, captures the heat of the moment until I can come on and get done with the locker room and everything I need to do and come on and just sort through everything and give you a fuller report on the podcast. So hopefully you guys are checking that out. Again, it's the Locked On Giants postcast. We also have a postcast for The Yankees, who, by the way, are going to the World Series, good for them. The Mets, who hopefully will be going to the World Series, although I have my doubts about that. And I'm a Met fan, I could say that. And also the Jets. So we have postcasts for all the major New York sports, football and baseball. We hope you will check those out. All right, let's talk about solutions. At this point, the roster is the roster, ladies and gentlemen. They're not going to change the players. All right. So, what can they potentially do here? Number one, at this point, sit Daniel Jones. I mean, he's too inconsistent. Drew Lock's not the answer either. At this point, I would just say, you know what, Tommy DeVito, go in there and see what you could do. What do they have to lose at this point? For the record, I don't think Tommy DeVito is the long term answer, but what do they have to lose at this point? Lock's not the answer. Jones doesn't appear to be the answer. They were able to win games last year with DeVito. Why not give the kid a chance? What do you got to lose? Right? At least that's how I see it. All right. I would sit Deontay Banks. Yeah. I know he's the number one draft pick. I know he's a starter. But look, how many more lack of effort plays do you need to see before you have to send a message to him? They tried calling him out and he responded to his credit, but this is weak. He's just not playing well right now. And, I get it. The Giants are kind of stuck behind the 8 ball. They didn't have Adoree Jackson this week. Adoree Jackson's dealing with a neck injury, which, by the way, now you see one of the reasons why they didn't go to resign him initially. But I don't know, guys. I mean, put somebody out there that's willing to play through the whistle. That's how I see it. Let's see. Left tackle. Again, Joshua Zudu, he works hard. He tries. I don't think he's the answer. I really don't. And it pains me to say that because he's such a sweetheart of a kid. But at this point, look, if that's going to disrupt the passing game and the running game, get Chris Hubbard in there. Now, Chris Hubbard was inactive this week. He's the veteran offensive lineman that the Giants poached off the 49ers practice squad. He was inactive because he just basically got here, and it's going to take some time to learn the playbooks, get up to speed and everything. But I would not be surprised if at some point very soon you see a change at left tackle. And then here's the other thing. And it pains me to say this because I was so looking forward to Brian Dable and what he could do as a play caller. But it ain't working. It just isn't. And I don't know, you can make the case that it's the personnel, it's the quarterback, whatever. But at this point, maybe let Mike Kafka call the plays. I mean, the Giants are averaging I think 1 point less per game than they were last year. So can Kafka be any worse? I mean, seriously, you're at your wit's end. Your season is slipping away. Figure this out. I mean, I don't think they'll salvage the season at this point because what are they, 2-5 now? And it's that they might as well just settle on a top 10 draft pick again. But at least make the games competitive because these blowout losses are just embarrassing. They are really embarrassing. And the fact that the offense now has failed to score double-digit points in the last 2 games, 3 games overall in the season, just not acceptable. The fact that they can't score a passing touchdown at home, not acceptable. All right? It's just bad. It's really bad. And folks, listen, I don't like having to cover a losing effort. You could see it irks me. I'm sure it irks you guys as well. But I hope this was I know for me it was a good venting session. I hope for you it was a good venting session. I hope we could talk about something more upbeat coming up because look, you guys come to watch football, to escape for, a few hours to enjoy stuff. And the Giants just aren't enjoyable right now. And folks, I hate to say that. I don't want to be a negative Nelly, but it is what it is. So we'll see what the coming week brings. The Giants are on prime time next week, Monday night against the Pittsburgh Steelers at Pittsburgh. We'll see if the extra day helps. We'll see. You never know. All right, Giant fans, that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for allowing me to vent. Thank you so much for joining me. And as always, let me know what you think about the Giants, about anything. We all need a group hug because this was just not a good week for the New York Giants. So, all right, Giant fans, I'll see you tomorrow.